Hello everyone, it's Simon here from Team Bus Stop, and today we're jumping into another vintage cube draft. So let's see if we can open something sweet. Alright, interesting pack to start. So, a couple of cards really standing out to me here. I think best card in the pack is Caracas. This card is just cooked, it's just unreal good at either protecting your own legends or countering whatever your opponent is doing. Um, it taps for white, but honestly, you would just play this as a colorless land in basically every deck. I think that's pretty much a slam dunk here. Mox Diamond can be quite good in some strategies. The free counters are good as well, so Force of Negation, obviously quite a bit worse than Force of Will, but still pretty good in the right deck. We also see Plateau, which is highly desirable for the red-white aggro deck. Um, that deck is still quite good. It's not nearly as dominant as it was in sort of the first iteration of the cube. And this time around, they've actually cut another key Boros card as well to try and limit its impact. Okay, next pack. So what do we got here? We've got a couple of really good cards. So Force of Will stands out to me as sort of being the best card in this pack and probably what we'll end up taking. Archon is probably the best reanimation target. Ugin, Eye of Storms, is a really, really good payoff in the Artifacts deck. Mana Leak, quite a solid card as a 2-mana counter. And then the fetch lands are quite good as well in terms of early picks that keep you open. Generally, I think the blue fetch lands are better than the rest. But let's just go ahead and grab Force of Will here. Pretty happy with that pick. Let's just stay reasonably open as well. We could easily end up, you know, in a range of different archetypes. Caracas, we can treat it as a colorless land. That being said, Force of Will, great in something like a blue-white or Jeskai control as well. So if we end up in a lane like that, we'll be quite happy to have it. This pack is quite a bit weaker than our first two packs. Nothing here is really particularly good. I think, you know, you look at cards like Primetime, which would be, you know, incredible in a normal limited set, but in the cube, it's just woefully underpowered compared to everything else that's going on. And this is sort of the card that looks like it should be good to new cube players, but it just doesn't really do anything. That being said, here we don't really have anything that we want to take. None of this really synergizes with our first few picks. So I guess what's the highest upside card we could speculate on here? You know, I might just go ahead and pick Overlord of the Mistmoors as probably like the best white card to pair with Caracas. Ajani is decent as well, but I think it's probably a little underpowered compared to the other Planeswalkers in the cube. Alright, well this pack is incredible, so this completely makes up for the last pack. We've got a bunch of very, very strong cards here. Orcish Bowmasters is incredible. Library of Alexandria is really good. Flage is like a nuts win condition for the Jeskai control deck. Urza is excellent in the Artifact Shell as well. So what would we want here? I've got a little bit of a bias towards playing Jeskai midrange in this version of the cube. I think it's just really, really good. So I'm pretty keen to take Flage. Pairs well with the Caracas. We'll forget about the Overlord for now. That'll make the deck, but might not. I'm going to take the Flage. Wouldn't fault you for taking Bowmaster here either. But yeah, lots of good picks for us in that pack. All right, next up, cards we could consider taking. I mean, Figure of Destiny and Gideon work well with the white cards we've taken so far. I think I'm just going to take Spell Pierce. This card's quite good in a control shell. It's a blue card to pitch to the Force of Will. I think Jeskai is somewhere that we could easily look to go from here. We'd have to spend quite a few picks on fixing though, but I think that can work. Oh, another very strong pack for us. This is a good signal as well if we do end up wanting to go Jeskai. Mystic Confluence and Tundra are the two cards that I'm considering here. Mystic Confluence is such an excellent card, but I think just having access to good mana is really going to let us play things like Flage alongside, you know, Force of Will or potentially other double blue cards. So let's make a disciplined pick. Let's take the Tundra here. And then, yeah, immediately rewarded because now we can take a Cryptic or consult the star charts. And I think we'd be much happier to have one of these plus Tundra as opposed to Mystic Confluence plus Tundra. Cryptic Command has actually done surprisingly well in this version of the cube, whereas previously it's felt a little bit too slow. So I could see taking Cryptic, a little worried about the triple blue cost. So might just take Consult the Star Charts for now. We do want a little bit of card draw. We want to keep our blue count high as well to pitch to this Force of Will if we can. Alright, this pack, let's swap views back again. Few interesting pieces here, nothing super good for us. So I think the best card here for us would be the Fire Covenant. Bolus's Citadel, notably a really good Tinker target. Spara's Headquarters, we could potentially take as a tapped blue-white land, but given we've already got the Tundra, I'd be more interested in sort of a tapped blue-red or getting access to something a little bit different for a fetch land. I could see just taking this Fire Covenant. Really good removal, really good against aggro. It's pretty speculative. But yeah, let's take that for now and sort of see where we land, see if we can get a nice multicolor deck happening. Nothing really for us in this pack. I mean, Monastery Mentor can be okay in this kind of a shell. Goldspan Dragon is interesting as well as potentially making some treasures to help us splash. Let's take the Mentor for now. Alright, I'm happy enough with a Cathar Commando. This card's just reasonably flexible. We want to pick up 2 mana counters, so being able to end of turn flash this in if there's nothing we want to counter is nice. Being able to destroy artifacts and enchantments is obviously massive in the cube because that can be quite a problematic permanent type for control decks to deal with. Yeah, I mean, this pack was pretty bad the first time we saw it. Hasn't really improved here. I guess I'll take the Winds of Abandon, but just plop that straight in the board. Fairy Mastermind. Pretty solid pickup. I think we would play a Gideon. Once Upon a Time, quite a good green card. Green, still quite weak in the cube. So even when green is open, you don't necessarily want to be there unless you've got a massive pull. I'll take the Beza. I think that could be a solid card in some matchups. Alright, and we wheel the Cryptic as well, so let's see where we go from here. Alright, so this is an interesting pack as well. So Pyrogoyf is excellent. This card is just a premium threat. Very, very strong. Pretty much exactly what we would want in this deck. I will say at the moment, we've already got quite a few 4-drops. And our mana is looking a little bit shaky. So I'm thinking Flooded Strand is probably just the better pick for us here. It just means we're a lot more likely to actually end up being able to play this Flage and to actually end up in Jeskai as well. I think somewhere we could sort of land here is if we pick the Pyrogoyf, we don't really get great fixing. We've got a really shaky mana base with powerful cards. And I kind of want to avoid that if I can. So let's take Flooded Strand. We might wheel something out of this pack. It's quite a powerful pack. I could see No More Lies potentially coming back or ending up with a Containment Priest, both of which would make the deck and be solid. Okay, interesting pick now for us as well. I think it's between Miscalculation and Fury here. We've got a Riverpire Verge as well, which is quite good. I would probably play a lot of these white cards as well, so we're likely going to wheel something from this pack just based on the quantity of cards in the pack. Taking the Flooded Strand last pick opens up Fury as a potential option here as well. I think if we hadn't done that, it would just be pretty negligent to take the Fury, but that card is quite good. You know what? Let's speculate on the Fury here. We can move this Fire Covenant to the board because we're starting to sort of pick up some of the tools we need just in the 3 colors. Alright. A bit of a weaker pack for us here. Strip Mine isn't really what we're after in this style of deck. 3 steps ahead, so 3 mana counters are a lot worse than 2 mana counters. Nia is a card which I've quite liked. I think it's pretty powerful, and if you're Jeskai and can play the other half, it's very strong. I think here, though, let's just take some disciplined picks. Let's grab a Colonnade. I'm pretty sure we're going to wheel at least 2 playables from this pack so far. So I'm a lot more interested in, spending picks on mana rather than sort of, I guess, playables that are solid but not anything too impressive. Alright, so, same philosophy here. Obviously, would be pretty keen to get a land that lets this Flooded Strand fetch black. Oh, sorry, fetch red for our Fury. Potentially black if we did want to play this Fire Covenant. I think I'm just going to take the Archive out of this pack. Alright, Speak of the Devil. We get an Elegant Parlor. I think that's more important than just some of the cards that we're seeing here. Like, we would play a Fear of Missing Out. We would, maybe play a Galv Blast, but let's just lock in our Flooded Strand, getting red, and sort of see where we go from here. Alright, Jace Vryn's Prodigy. We don't really have good spells to flash back with it at the moment, so probably wouldn't want to pick it here. Seer is an okay removal spell. The fact it hits Planeswalkers is really big. Same logic. Let's just take this Inspiring Advantage. I feel like we're going to wheel a lot of playables out of this pack anyway, so let's just make sure our mana's good, and then pack 3 we can maybe get a little bit more aggressive with the cards we want to take. Alright, some good picks here. Stoneforge Mystic can be quite strong. I don't think we've passed Equipment. I don't remember seeing the Batterskull going by or any of the other premium pieces. But for me, I think it's between Teferi and Expressive Iteration here. Given we've got the Consult the Star Charts, like, I really love Teferi. I just love this card. Let's pick it up. There's still a world as well where we just kind of end up abandoning our red as well. Like, we don't necessarily have to go heavy red. If we get enough playables at blue-white and our fixing isn't, incredible, we don't have to do that. I think we're going to be good on playables. I think here, Skyclave Apparition is a card that's quite impressed me. I also like Makdi and Itla. And Showdown of the Skalds has been really good, but I think with our current curve, this Showdown is probably going to be a little bit awkward. Alright, so as we predicted, we've wheeled a bunch of really good cards for us. Oliphant as an extra mana fixer would be quite good, but I think getting a 2-mana counter here is just exactly what we want. Tidebinder and Containment Priest are also cards we would run in our deck, so it looks like we're reasonably in the right lane at the moment. Unholy Heat, we could potentially take a removal spell here. Wandering Emperor, looks solid, but our curve is like a little bit top heavy already, and this is probably worse than most of our other 4s. So let's go ahead, let's grab the Unholy Heat here. Alright, Nia wheeled, which is nice. We've got a nice little combo here with Nia and Caracas as like a late game value engine as well. So we'll keep that in mind. Alright, Legion Extruder is another piece of removal. Could potentially think about the Raucous Theatre as a way to splash this Fire Covenant, but at this point I don't really think we need the Fire Covenant, and we can't fetch the Theatre with Flooded Strand. Alright, it's pretty much every red card's wheeled here, so red's feeling pretty open. Mana Tithe we would potentially play, depending on sort of how our curve looks after the next pack. Okay, great pack, so yeah, we'll grab a piece of power. Yeah, this pack is excellent. We might wheel something out of this as well. So out of this pack, we would have been really happy playing the Time Walk, Scalding Tarn, or Felia. Might end up with the Spirebluff Canal out of this pack on the wheel. Goban could be okay as well. In terms of flashing back the Time Walk, there are a lot of good green cards that enable that in the cube. So if we can pick up green fixing at a low cost, we might look to do something like that. But it's not going to be a priority. Casting Time Walk once is great. We've already passed Jace Vryn's Prodigy, so I can't flash it back that way. But, we might see a Snapcaster or, 1-mana Tamiyo or another way to flash it back. Alright. Another pack that's quite powerful here. So few good pieces. Psychic Frog is an excellent card. I don't really think we can stretch our mana enough to make that work. I'm looking at Lelia here. Ship's already sailed on Tinker. We passed the Citadel in pack 1, which is quite a good target. We could potentially wheel this Portal to Phyrexia, but I think like ship sailed on that. Let's just take some good cards here. We might wheel a Virtue of Loyalty is probably the only other card we would potentially play. Grim Monolith, it's just, yeah, not really what we're after here. Okay, another reasonably solid pack here. I think we just take the Loot Tree here. Preordain would be solid. Wouldn't mind having Thundering Falls. Would potentially play a Braid or Brainstorm. So I guess we'll see. We could easily wheel something here. Would maybe play the Lightning Helix as well. I think Loot Tree with the Time Walk is just a little bit too appealing. All right, for whatever reason that doesn't seem to want to work for me. I'll just put that there. Okay, solid pack for us again. I think it's really between Chandra and Mother of Runes. I think Mother of Runes doesn't really synergize that well with the rest of what we're doing, so let's just grab the Subtlety, have another free sort of counter spell available. We'll probably wheel something from this pack as well, potentially, like would maybe play the Chandra, potentially the Stern Scolding. Let's see how we go. Okay, solid pack for us again. Dak Faden is quite a strong planeswalker. Lets you dig to sort of key pieces that you might have. So given we've got the Time Walk, that's a little bit appealing. I think I'll just take the Hull Breacher. I like having some flash plays to go along with our counter spells, and it can be just really strong. I know there was a Wheel of Fortune in the first pack that we opened, and that was quite a strong pack. So there is a world where we get Wheel on the wheel. So let's see how that goes. All right, in terms of playables, we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lands. So we've already got 23 playables here. So look, Counterspell would be good. But I think, even if we trim some of the worst looking playables, I think I'd still rather just pick up a land here because we do have some pretty heavy color requirements. And adding to that rather than taking a land when we're probably going to wheel more playables just doesn't sound super appealing. All right, we've got a Suplex. It's a solid playable removal spell. Could also take the Magda, but we're not really ramping. Like, jumping from 2 to 4 isn't that good for us here. So yeah, let's just take the Suplex. Bit of a weak pack here for us. Thundertrap Trainer, I guess, could be okay as a way to sort of dig to our Time Walk potentially. All right, we did wheel the wheel. So that's worked out. There's also the Spybluff Canal would be nice, but I think given we've got the Hull Breacher, the wheel's nice. It would be better as a Time Twister because you could cast Time Walk and then reshuffle your Time Walk and potentially play it again. But beggars can't be choosers. I think we take the wheel here. I think we'd end up running it. All right, so this was the pack with Tinker in it. I guess we'll take the Palantir. We're probably not playing any of those cards. All right, Brainstorm versus Preordain for us here. How many shuffle effects do we have? We've got 1 fetch land, so I think the Preordain's probably just going to be better for us. Consult the Star Charts could clear the top. But yeah, let's just take the turn 1 card we can use a little more reliably. All right, Stern Scolding. Fresh Start. I don't think we're going to need Fresh Start. We've got a heap of removal already. Alright, so reasonably happy with where this deck has landed. So yeah, let's make Lutri a companion now. Is there anything in here that we would potentially want to move to the board? I think Monastery Mentor is one that doesn't look amazing here. We've still got 12 non-creature spells. Normally you want to be able to trigger this thing sort of multiple times in a turn, and ideally the turn you play it. So it plays pretty well with like bauble effects. Like I'd probably want to run this in a deck that, has Quarry Steelcutter, or other ways to take advantage of casting multiple spells in a turn. Overall, this deck looks solid, but not amazing. So let's take a look at our mana base here. So we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 white sources. We have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 blue sources. 5, 6, 7, 8 red sources as well. Alright, are we happy with that? I think that does make Cryptic sound pretty bad, so maybe let's cut a red for a blue. I think the Cryptic is going to be pretty solid here, so I think we'll run it even though it's not sort of perfect on our mana. But yeah, reasonably happy with where this landed. Would have liked a little bit more fixing, maybe an extra Planeswalker or two just to have some better sort of top end. Pretty happy with that Teferi pick in the end, because I think that's going to be pretty key to our sort of game plan overall. Alright, let's jump into the queue and see how we go. Alright, into the first one. Quite a solid hand here. So definitely going to keep this. A couple of free counters. We've got our best card in Time Walk. Probably going to be digging for lands here. Yeah, don't think we can keep a Spell Pierce. Could potentially set something up with this wheel, but that's a little while off. Don't really have a good turn 2 play, so you know there was an argument to keeping the Spell Pierce for that reason. But alright, Copter's fine. We'll probably need to try and counter the card they play to Crew Copter. So what are our options here? So this can fetch a Meticulous Archive, so we'll probably just do that. This turn we might just be a Force of Will, pitch Subtlety. But we'll certainly Surveil first, I think, to see what's going on. Yeah, it's tough because I think we do want to deploy this Wheel of Fortune eventually, but the fact that they've got a Mox and they've already started putting a bunch of material onto the board makes that quite awkward for us. But we'll see what they do. If they don't play anything too strong here, we might not have to counter it. Alright, well yeah, countering that feels pretty terrible given they could just bestow it back eventually. We could Subtlety it. Just put it on top. Let's Surveil. Let's see what our play is likely to be next turn and go from there. Yeah, let's get rid of Colonnade. So if we Subtlety this, I mean we take way less damage, so yeah, I guess we Subtlety it. This card kind of ruins our Wheel of Fortune plan as well, because they discard their whole hand and then they just get to bestow the Phoenix. Alright, well, I mean, I think we're pretty priced in. So I think we're just going for the wheel here. Not feeling good about our chances in this game. Alright, well here I think we just play Caracas. Obviously you don't really want to draw 5 lands off your wheel effect. We did not use Time Walk particularly well this game, but you know, hopefully Caracas, Flage, and Cryptic can get us back into this one. So we know they have Detectives Phoenix. Excuse me. So their discards, yeah, I mean, they discarded some pretty good cards. Notably CMC 2, 3, 4, so they can't play another creature and bestow the Phoenix from their hand this turn before combat. They might be able to post Smuggler's Cop to hit. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna bounce this to their hand. Am I? So it's sort of like if I bounce the Flage, they could just discard it to the Copter and get a free card that way anyway. But otherwise, they're going to be able to Flage me next turn. So do I want the Flage in their hand? You know, maybe with the Cryptic, maybe I'm okay with them trying to flash back the Flage. If they flash it back, that's probably their whole turn, and I can Caracas it at that point. I just need to be mindful of this Detective's Phoenix as well. So if they discard a really high CMC cost card here, what they might be trying to do is Detective's Phoenix bestow play to crack in with this if I ever tap out of Caracas. Okay. I think I'm just playing Tundra this turn. So that we can Cryptic. Yeah, I think Cryptic is going to be our best play here. Really interesting to note as well, they discarded a Multiversal Passage, but then they didn't play a land for the turn. So it will be interesting to see what the hand's looking like here. That's fine. Notably, now they can't bring the Flage back this turn. This game is looking a little bit tough, though. I mean, it's been looking tough for a long time, so, you know, things just haven't really changed in that regard. All right. I think here, let's just bounce the Copter and draw a card. And we will pay for their Esper Sentinel trigger. Do they have a reprieve here? Or a flash threat? Alright. Wandering Emperor. Making a Samurai. That was a nice draw. Okay. That was good. Alright. So Mountain it is, and then let's play Fury. Let's go 1, 1, 2. Alright, so here they could spend their turn buying back Flage. Alright, looks like that isn't happening. And we know they have Smuggler's Copter and Detective's Phoenix in hand, I believe. Unless, did they put the Phoenix on the bottom? Oh, they did. Okay. So we'll resolve that. Can hit us for 2. Alright, so... Alright, Auto Tapper is trying to get us here, but I think there is a way for us to... play Flage and flashback Flage this turn, so let's do that. So we'll go up to 9, making our opponent's plan to try and burn us out, not be super effective here. So they have a Flage of their own. I don't think they've got many cards in their graveyard, so one thing they could try and do here would be to play Flage, hit our Flage for 3, rebuy Flage from their graveyard, hit our Flage for 3 again to kill it. But even then, we've got enough cards to rebuy, so we're kind of in a position where we can potentially start to take over the game here, depending on what answers they have. So the fact that they have already discarded a Swords to Plowshares is good for us, in the sense that, you know, if they were to exile this Flage, we would probably be in quite a bit of trouble, but given the way they're tanking here, we may be in an okay position. Okay. Alright, well, I'm just going to try and kill this Elspeth. So we'll just play Suplex. Deal 3 to one of these tokens. And then Flage is going to attack Elspeth, and we'll deal 3 to the other token. Great. Alright, really happy with that, with trading a Suplex for their Elspeth. We can put a Lutri into hand now. Probably our game plan now is this Cathar Commando is going to trade for the Smuggler's Copter. Oh, a Lion Sash. Alright, so we're probably going to want to kill that with Cathar Commando, possibly. So they only have 2 white at the moment, which means our Flage can actually deal enough damage to kill this. Alright, yeah, I'm just going to play Cathar Commando now. If they try and kill our Flage, we have Caracas to save it as well. Alright. Lelia was an excellent, excellent draw as well. 14 cards left in our library. The Lelia dies to Flage, which is a bit unfortunate, but at the same time we have Caracas to protect it. We have lots of creatures that can potentially die to Flage, so let's just do this. Shoot the Lion Sash. They clearly have something here, otherwise they probably would have played the Smuggler's Copter as well. Okay, exile the Time Walk, you've got it. That actually pumps the Lelia, so they should have done this a little bit earlier. Okay, they bolt the Lelia. Do I care to Caracas that? So if I don't, yeah, then my Flage could potentially be vulnerable. I think I just let this Lelia die. I think it's probably a lot less important than the Flage is going to be. Okay, we hit a land. If they try and Flage away our Cathar Commando, we can blow up their Mox Jet, so they just won't gain any life there, and then we can flash in our Lutri, and we have 12 damage. Alrighty, let's do that. Alright, copter down. Ooh, a fear of missing out is nice. I guess we start with that. Alright, and now I think we just go for lethal. We just Caracas back the Flage to our hand. And hit him for 3. Alright, I mean, that was a surprising win. I felt very far behind for a lot of that game, but then we turned the corner. Flage did a lot of work for us, so let's go on to the next. Okay, pretty solid looking hand here. We've got a Spell Pierce into a Mastermind. Probably like Wheel's looking pretty bad here, but I guess we don't have to cast it, so we can potentially wait until we find a Hull Breacher to pair with that. Or, you know, as you saw in the last game, things started looking bad for us and we sort of had to fire off a Wheel, and thankfully the hand our opponent got was much worse than what they were holding. Yeah, I'll Spell Pierce that. Interesting to see Currency Converter plus Mountain, but they might just be an artifact deck still that just hasn't found the piece they're looking for yet. I think here I'd rather play the Fairy Mastermind. We can potentially get a little bit of extra value. And obviously the alternative would be playing a tap land to play this fear of missing out a little bit later. Alright, so it looks like they are a heavy artifacts deck. So this Wheel of Fortune is looking like it's probably going to be pretty bad. No More Lies, excellent top deck, pretty happy with that. See what we find here, Colonnade. I think we just need some more action. Oof. Them naturally having the Academy is quite bad for us. Alright, I think we just have to counter this. They're just going to have too much mana for this to really do anything anyway, once the Pentad Prism is in play, so might as well counter this now, make it so they only have 1 artifact instead of 2, and maybe we can slow them down a little bit. Alright, so we have instant land at the moment. So we are going to play Fear of Missing Out this turn, and then the question is, are we discarding the Wheel or are we discarding the Island? I mean, Wheel gives us a 3rd type, so we've at least got a sorcery then. Are we going to end up at a point in this game? I could see like we end up in a situation where we desperately just need Time Walk to win, where having Wheel into Time Walk could be quite a strong out. Alternatively, we could just put Lutri into hand here, and then our Force of Will is turned on in case things are quite scary. Let's just attack for 2. Make sure they don't have a Dismember or something, because that potentially could change our plays here. Honestly, I think we probably just need a clock. So let's play the Fear of Missing Out. I think I'm willing to pitch the Wheel. Alright. So reasonably happy with how that worked out. I think having the land is a lot better here, obviously, to pair with the Laelia. Ooh, that's very scary, especially if they've got a 0 or 1 drop here. Alright, looks like they don't. So game plan here. So we have 1 copy of Unholy Heat in our deck. So I think, yeah, alright, let's play Laelia. Crack in with Laelia and the Fear of Missing Out. And see where we go. Alright, Tundra. get that Tundra in play. Over to our opponent. So obviously our best draw here is going to be Time Walk. That's probably going to be true in most board states. All right, this is scary. So now our opponent's really going to start popping off. This Tolarian Academy is just going to tap for a heap of mana. They've drawn a card without actually drawing a card, so it's not going to trigger our Fairy Mastermind. Okay, Candelabra. I mean, it's good Candelabra's being activated there, because that means they, aren't making a bunch of tokens first and really popping off. Alright. So, opponent's sculpting a really nice hand here. Of note as well, they have enough mana to start activating these tokens, which is going to, drastically reduce our clock. So we really need to make something happen next turn, really. I don't think we can whiff and still get there. So I guess that's sort of the argument to keeping the Wheel of Fortune, is if we end up in a state like this where they just have, really sculpted everything that they're doing. We could essentially reset everything by drawing up to 7 cards and seeing if we can make something happen, whereas now we've got quite a mopey hand. Okay, Metamorph on Shark. It's not a bad play from him. Alright, we do find the Hull Breacher. 5. Okay. I mean, I think Lelia has to attack this turn. We don't have any cheeky ways to trigger this Lelia to make it bigger. Library and or graveyard. Nope. So yeah, I think we're just attacking with the Lelia. We'll accept a trade with one of the Sharks, or if they want to go to 7, we can do that as well. Alright. So yeah, let's just put Lutri into hand and plan to play the Hull Breacher, I think. Dealing 7 to them is going to be quite a challenge. But yeah, I think our path now is probably some combo of Lutri copying Time Walk, and then Lelia maybe being big enough to get in, maybe Fear of Missing Out's doing something. Oh, that's bad for us. Alright, I mean, we just have to force of will that. Unfortunately, we still lose our Lelia. I guess we get rid of... Yeah, is Lutri copying Time Walk still going to be enough? That's really the question on what we pitch, and I think the answer is probably no. So maybe counter the Ugin. Maybe we can do something with Flage. Maybe that's our plan, is to try to deal 1 more damage and then play and flashback Flage for lethal. I don't think we've got any other burn. But opponents popping off. They're living the dream. I absolutely love playing the Artifacts deck. It's so good. Oh my god. Okay. Okay. Okay, opponent. Oh my god. Are we gonna win now? Alright. You can make a bunch of tokens, but they don't actually do anything right here. What just happened? Okay. Alrighty, let's do some stuff. So we have no cards in our graveyard. So yeah, I think we start with a Skyclave Apparition. Wait, hold on. Let's count. So if we go Flage, and then we go Wheel of Fortune, we'll put a bunch of cards into our graveyard to rebuy the Flage. Because I think if we clear both these blockers, hit them for 2, then that's lethal. So what? So we've got a Suplex. So we want to leave this one alive because it's an artifact. So yeah, so let's Skyclave Apparition, the non-artifact. Flage their face. And then, do I want to Unholy Heat? So the reason to Unholy Heat would be if we had something else that could deal a little bit of damage to finish this off. I don't think we've really got anything, so let's just play the Wheel of Fortune. I think I'm not going to play a land, because I think, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we would be adding 5 cards. Sorry, I guess it's 6 cards, because the Wheel of Fortune goes to the graveyard as well. But yeah, let's just do it this way, get some extra cards in the bin, in case that matters for this Fear of Missing Out or Flage. Alright, do we have enough mana? Yeah, I think that gives us the win. So now we just Fury for 5. Kill the shark. And then we just get to hit them for 2 and recast Flage. I guess we've also got the Fear of Missing Out because we have Delirium now, so these 2 can attack, it'll untap this, and we just kill them that way, actually. That's even better. Wow, what an actually crazy game to win. I can't believe, yeah, down to 1 card in hand, and they just played the Time Spiral, which they really, didn't have to do. So, yeah, pretty happy to win this one. Alright, go to damage. Get in for 2. Alright, good game. Yeah, see you in the next. Yeah, I still can't believe we won that last game. That was intense. Yeah, definitely should not have gotten there, but we'll take it. This one, we've got a pretty solid hand. We've got the turn 1 Spell Pierce, so let's just lead with that. Caracas, obviously we didn't really want to draw a land, but this is probably the best land we could have hit, noting we are going to sort of need double red eventually for Fury and or Flage. Opponent could just have a counterspell up. I think I'm pretty comfortable just playing Meticulous Archive. I wouldn't really want to preordain this turn. There are things our opponent could have that punish that, like the Fairy Mastermind themselves, or potentially even a Bowmaster. I mean, we do need a second red eventually, but I don't think we can really keep a land here either, so let's just bin that. In the turn. Alright, looks like our opponent didn't have anything, so they could just have a 2-mana counter spell, and that's what they were looking at. Alright, easy counter on that. Alright, so I think now we just play a Preordain. I'd rather do that than put Lutri into hand, I think. What happens if we put Lutri into hand? 6, 7, so we don't have to discard. Getting Lutri isn't terrible, actually. Yeah, let's play Mountain. Playing Mountain's a little bit awkward as well, because next turn we want to be able to have Cryptic up, but potentially also have Caracas up. If we play Mountain, we can't do that. But then also if we play Mountain here, we wouldn't necessarily be able to play Fury on turn 5. So maybe I might just play Tundra this turn, because then next turn we can decide, is the Caracas important or the Fury, or setting up for the Fury more important? Okay. I mean, yeah, we didn't have a way to interact with that anyway. Alright, well, yeah, now, obviously, if we played Mountain or Caracas, we'd probably be in a better position. I'm just trying to think. We don't have any zeros, I don't think. This Jace is a little bit of a problem. It's not a huge problem. I mean, we could just play Caracas here. And then if we don't counter anything, we just put Lutri into play, and then we can Caracas it back to hand if we need to. Yeah, let's do that. I mean, I do like seeing them mill us, given we've got a Flage in hand. Alright, I mean, that's a crazy play by the auto tapper, trying to tap us out of Caracas here, but let's play the Lutri. If they counter the Lutri, that's fine. If they try and remove the Lutri, we have Caracas. Alright, I think we are just hitting Jace for 3 here. See if they let that happen. Alright, looks like they do. I mean, I'm pretty content now, I think, just passing the turn, trying to use this Cryptic again. Alternatively, could just pitch cast this Fury. I don't really love the sound of that, though. Could cast the Flage to try and deal with it. Alright, yeah, let's counter this and return Jace to their hand, I think. Alright. I think I'm pretty happy with that as a tempo player, because now if they just play the Jace and plus it, they're not really going to have enough mana to do anything else. Shame we never ended up finding untapped red for this Flooded Strand. Mill us again, which feels like a mistake in the format in general. Alright. I think I'm just going to return this to their hand. If I could guaranteed play Fury next turn, I wouldn't use my Caracas here, because I could just kill both of their cards, but I think here, let's just get Lelia down, send both at Jace, have Caracas protection, and have Subtlety up as well. Okay. I think, yeah, given we're Jeskai as well, we potentially could have had Underworld Breach combo. So our opponent milling us is even a little bit more suspect with that context as well. Do I want a Wheel of Fortune? I think our Hull Breach has already been milled, hasn't it? So probably not. I don't think that's how this game is going to go. And then we're not playing Preordain because that's effectively stapled to this subtlety at the moment. We could have the option of using Caracas on the Lutri to then pitch to the subtlety if we really needed to. But I think this is just going to be a little bit better for us. If we draw a land next turn as well and we're not forced to subtlety, this turn we might have the option of playing Flage and the subtlety. Or if we draw straight mountain, we could play Flage and rebuy it. Alright, which of these two units do we most want to save? So the advantage of Lutri is that we have Time Walk left in our deck. Lelia is a solid value engine though. I think I'm actually just going to bounce the Lutri because we have this Preordain in hand. I think if we double Preordain with 19 cards left, like, you know, we're going to be able to dig to some pretty solid spells. So pretty happy to just let this happen. If their best player is the Jace, we can deal with that pretty easily. Otherwise, yeah, this Lutri is just going to keep gaining us a little bit of value as well. I think we're pretty much out of counter spells. I think we've got no more Lies left somewhere in our deck, but we've played our Cryptic, we've lost our Force, and our Spell Pierce is gone as well. Alright. Island is an okay draw. So I think I'm just going to go for the Preordain Lutri play. Yeah, let's go red, blue, white. So they could just counter the Preordain here. And if they do, then Lutri's not going to have anything to copy. I suspect that's what they're thinking about. Oh, nope. Alright. I don't think I want another mountain. I don't really think I need Fear of Missing Out. So let's bottom that for now. Alright. Pretty comfortable bottoming this, especially given we hit the mountain. Alright, Time Walk. Just not really in a hurry here at the moment. Okay, they play a Preordain. Two bottom. I mean, yeah, they look kind of like a fairish value Esper deck. They might have some Reanimator pieces. How greedy do we want to get? I guess there's no real need, so let's just crack in. I think Teferi is probably going to be strong enough to force interaction from their hand. I also think if they have removal, they might be priced into trying to deal with the Lutri. Alright, let's... Yep, happy enough with the auto tapper there. Let's try and play this Teferi. Three steps ahead. Alright. Nothing we can do about that. Oh, is this a dig through time? Is that what they're looking at here? Yeah, it appears it is. I mean, And there's nothing we can really do about that. Our opponent is really starting to grind us out now, actually. So this could end up being a tough one, especially if they have some broken cards as well. Like if they have their own Time Walk in their deck, that could be a real challenge. Something I want to avoid happening is like we Caracas back our Lutri, they play their Jace, and then they play a Time Walk, then they get an extra turn where our Caracas is tapped down, they flip their Jace, rebuy Time Walk, and we just end up being super far behind. Oh, Duress. Alright, losing our Time Walk definitely hurts. Alright, nothing we can do about that. I mean, don't really think it made sense to try and cash it in. Alright, Shelldock Isle. Alright. You know, not feeling great about our position in this one, but that was also true in the last two, which we ended up winning. So, can definitely still get there from here. Caracas has just done so much work for us as well. Like, bounce this Jace, we bounced our Lutri. It would have stopped something like a Felia as well. Obviously, I think they milled this card with the Jace earlier. I think this Flage is going to be like a really key threat for us as well. We might need to start developing that ASAP. We'll see what they do. We've still got a few good attackers left in our deck. I think we've still got Nia. So she can be played as a 4/4 haster. But our opponent has just had an incredible couple of turns, honestly. Like the 3 steps ahead, into Dig Through Time, into Duress, passing with what I assume is probably another counter. This is going to be tough. It's going to be tough for sure. But we have some powerful pieces ourselves. So how much mana do we have here? We have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we could play Flage and leave up Caracas. Which I think we should do here. I think we just need to put some more pressure on the board. If we end up in desperation mode as well, we'll still have the opportunity to... accidentally in full control. Still have the opportunity to Caracas Lutri back to our hand and pitch cast Subtlety if we need to. So yeah, we'll stack our triggers this way. If you stack them the other way, Flage dies and then deals damage. So if they have an instant speed way to exile a card from our graveyard, we could get into trouble that way. But right now, they're not going to have a priority window. So we'll be able to recast the Flage without them having a response. I guess the only reason it would matter which cards we discard would be if they end up playing like a wheel effect. At which point Spell Pierce probably doesn't do enough. Maybe get rid of them, Monastery Mentor. Keep our wheel and Hull Breacher in case that comes up. And yeah, if they counter this, we can still recast it next turn anyway. These games have all been very grindy. A lot of back and forth, a lot of interesting decisions. I feel like, yeah, this is definitely a game where if my opponent or I make a mistake, it's pretty much over. So, okay. Sure. So, I mean, we've got the suplex for that, if need be. But this means they... I mean, we'd still potentially have lethal next turn. We could hardcast the Fury. Alright, so let's see what they've got under their Sheldock. Him to Turok. Alright, I think we desperately need to keep Suplex or Fury. Okay. Alright, keeping Subtlety there is really bad because now we don't really have a way to reset the Flage without Caracasing it back to our hand, which we don't really want to do. So yeah, it was really a worst case scenario there for us, but that's alright, we will persevere. Okay, Teferi. I guess they have to plus it. Yeah. That him. Yeah, not going our way. Alright, do we have any other? I think we've got an Unholy Heat we could draw as a removal spell, which would be very, very good. What does that do for us? So what we have 5, 6, 7, 8 mana. So we could play Nia to get a card, and then we could transform Nia and still have Caracas available. So I think we do that. I feel like they've got something else here, which is what makes this turn quite challenging. $12 cards left. A Flage being switched off by the Tidebinder is really rough. Infernal Grasp. So, I mean, if I just return her to my hand... Yeah, I think that's the play. I think I just return her. These both attack Teferi. If you want to save Teferi, you have to lose your Tidebinder. And then Teferi still can't tuck. That's... Yeah, seems like a questionable block if they do that. And the reason we didn't play the land off the Nia, so we've lost the option to play the Inspiring Vantage, is if she transformed, this backside would have gotten a +1/+1 counter, which we could then later use to trade in for cards if needed as well. But we'll see if that choice puts us in danger. I thought they might not kill the Nia because of what else was in play, but yeah, maybe being down a land in our future turns will cost us quite a bit. Alright, so we've cleared off the Teferi. I'm pretty surprised by that block from our opponent, because now the Flage also like shoots when it attacks. Unfortunately, while Nia is Jeskai coloured on the back half of the card, you can't pitch Nia to Subtlety. So our shields are down, our opponent can play any sort of creature or planeswalker here. Notably, we both have 12 cards left in our library, which honestly could end up mattering in this match. Alright, Snapcaster Mage. Let's see, I don't think they have an exile answer to Flage, which is good. No, they don't. Solitude is their only way. So what could they do? They could cast 3 steps ahead, copying the Snapcaster, and then they could cast a removal spell on the Flage, and that would just give them a few more blockers on this board. So I guess depending on what else they've got in their hand, I'm assuming they're killing the Flage here. Okay. So they might just be choosing to deploy something else from their hand here first instead. See if they deploy the Jace. If they do, I mean, we're probably going to kill the Jace with the Flage rather than using Caracas on it. Right. And then, yeah, let's just clear some cards. Goodbye, Lutri. Yeah, you've done your job. And then, yeah, I'm just going to kill the Jace here, I think. I think I want to leave up Subtlety rather than playing Nia this turn. But we'll see. So we've exiled a lot of cards this game. But thankfully we've been able to maintain Delirium for this Unholy Heat. So that could end up being key. Virtue of Persistence. All right. So if they have a removal spell, we're in trouble. I mean, I guess not. I think we should just go for lethal here, really. So yeah, I'm just going to play the Subtlety out. Alright, so this is access to our entire deck, so what would we want to get? I think we still have a No More Lies. So essentially we could prevent them from playing any spells here. So I think that's probably what we go for. With that in mind, I guess Unholy Heat the Snapcaster. We already have lethal Flage hitting this and then hitting them, but let's just do this in case they have, like, I guess 2 cards we have to worry about. And let's attack. Wan Shi Tong. Alright. So we'll find our No More Lies. I mean, we have Caracas for that anyway. But we'll No More Lies this. And then, yeah, if they had something else, we could Caracas the Flage and hit them, shoot their face again. Like, we just had a lot going on there. These games have been crazy. This is going to be a long video, so thanks for sticking in. Let's see how far we can climb in Mythic. Alright, so we're on the play here. Pretty solid hand again. Cryptic Command, we're pretty far off casting at the moment. But I think this is a definite keep. So I think turn 1 we just play the Flooded Strand. We can fetch Tundra if we need to, or we can just fetch our Meticulous Archive and get a Surveil. Interestingly, our opponent is on a Lutri deck. So we'll see what they play. We'll let that resolve. I don't think it makes sense to Spell Pierce that. But we really want to keep some removal for this Lurrus. Skyclave Apparition is particularly good because oftentimes this deck will run a card that it can, I guess, return. That it can use to return Lurrus. So exiling Lurrus is obviously quite good at stopping that. Alright, let's get Meticulous Archive here. I think we can go ahead and keep that. guess we have to play that now. I will say usually Lurrus decks are Grixis or Esper. Like, it's a bit strange seeing a forest here as well. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they played that off of Plains, but playing it off of Forest is interesting. We'll have to sort of see what their colour situation is like and go from there. Okay, Scrubland. It's a more traditionally Lurrus card. Alright. What do we want to do here? So we're going to be taking some hits from this Ocelot Pride. We can either play Celestial Colonnade here to try and set up for a Cryptic command next turn, or we can get a Surveil. I guess if we're surveilling, what are we looking for? I guess like a Flage would be quite good. I guess next turn we're probably going to be forced to play this Skyclave Apparition. And then I guess Fury is going to be our answer for the Lurrus, just because they've applied a lot of pressure quite quickly. We couldn't just pass, because if they activate this ability, Unholy Heat wouldn't kill their unit anymore. I think I'm just going to get a Surveil happening here. Let's see where we go. No More Lies. Yeah, I mean, that is a pretty good answer to Lurrus as well. You know, maybe I should have been that. Just because we already have a counterspell in the form of Cryptic. I'd be keen to spell pierce pretty much anything my opponent throws at us this turn. I can't spell pierce that. Alright, I mean, I think it's just too bad to, like, not evoke this Fury. Like, we just immediately clean up the board. And then I think our hope is that they go for, like, they just put Lurrus into hand, and then we can hold up a counterspell, counter the Lurrus, and then their deck just gets a lot worse when they're a Lurrus deck without a Lurrus. They've got a big restriction on what they can do, and we don't. So blue source would be great, just to allow us to Cryptic. Alright, No More Lies it is. At least we draw Cathar Commando, so we can play the Commando and the No More Lies. Our opponent, you know, if they have other stuff that they can be doing, just probably won't even play the Lurrus if they can avoid it. Okay, we'll play Cathar Commando. Play tapped Seachrome Coast. I don't really want to make that trade, so we won't. The problem is now if they play one more land, yeah, we can no longer No More Lies the Lurrus. So that works. Really needed that untapped blue like a turn sooner. So I think that's going to resolve, and then we'll probably just have to counter whatever they play off the Lurrus. You know, maybe I should have offered the trade for this Questing Druid. This thing's going to get really big really fast, so... Maybe my Cathar Commando attacking would have been good. Yep, looks like it would have been. Alright. So we're in a very bad position right now. Hull Breacher, unlikely to really do that much in this matchup. I mean, I just don't think we have an alternative to, yeah, just dealing with this Lurrus with Skyclave. Wow, yeah, we've really had nothing to spell pierce this game outside of that Once Upon a Time. Alright. Well, we're getting worked here. Right, they do have a Lotus in their deck as well. I don't really understand why they would do that. I mean, the only thing that would make them do that is if they have like a Time Twister in their hand or something. I don't understand why they threw away their Lotus there. Alright. They got us GG. Alright. Let's hopefully fare a little bit better in the next. Alright, great hand. Let's keep this bad boy. Alright. So what do we want to do here? Sequencing our lands is always really interesting with a deck like this, because we can definitely get pretty punished for our choices. So I think I'm just going to play a Seachrome Coast here, because I kind of want to encourage them to play a legend if they have one turn one. Like playing the Caracas might prevent them doing that. I'm just going to force a Willis Ring. I think we're just too far away from Cathar Commandoing it down, and there is a chance that their whole hand, given they've mulliganed as well, is really reliant on that. So let's do that. I'll play the Mountain. I don't really want to play the Time Walk yet. I would rather like have a board in play before then, or potentially set up for a Lutri. So here I'm just playing the Cathar Commando. I'm going to get in with the Commando, and then I'm going to play this Nia and try to hit a free card off it. Alright. And then yeah, pass back over to them. You know, if they have a Fire Covenant, we're in a little bit of trouble. And I feel silly for not playing the Caracas, but I think it made sense. Okay, balance. Alright. You got it. So they kill two of our creatures, but they also discard a card. They discard a Sundering Titan as well, which makes me think they, you know, potentially could be a Reanimate style deck. So if they do that, we would lose our Island and our Mountain. I'm just going to play Gideon. I think that kind of insulates us against them reanimating the Sundering Titan a little bit as well, because at least then we have a Planeswalker in play. We could potentially Time Walk. Mishra's Workshop. Alright. Ugh. It keeps happening. We never get a chance to play our... maybe we just need to cast this way more often, I guess, instead of trying to get too much value. Okay, so what are our best options here? Alright. So we could Skyclave Apparition this away. That's probably worse than playing Monastery Mentor and suplexing it. Teferi, if we had some sort of instant, I'd be more interested in Teferi. I don't really want to play Lelia here because I'd rather play 2/3s next turn if we can. So yeah, I think the play that makes the most sense to me here is playing the Monastery Mentor and the Suplex. And I do want double red, so I'm going to play the Mountain. Let's go Monastery Mentor, Suplex. Man, I think I'm actually going to plus the Gideon here. I think that just applies a lot of pressure and also means next turn, like we can emblem and still keep our Gideon around. I actually thought about embleming this turn, just in case they do have a sweeper or sort of some way to get back. Obviously, they've played the balance already. All right, we'll see what they've got. If they have... I mean, their deck looks incredible. They've got, like, Mox Pearl, Soul Ring. Balance is obviously really good in these artifact shells as well. I mean, they look like an excellent Mind Twist deck. Normally, this card is just kind of too slow, but they've got a shitload of acceleration, so it kind of works. And this wheel's been really strong. Wow, okay. Yorgwill. All right, they are absolutely cooking. So now I get to play their Soul Ring. We're going to get absolutely owned this turn, I think. But also, I think the way it's played out, I'm pretty happy with plussing the Gideon last turn as well. Because it did really feel like they needed to... let's have a quick think here. What do we need? Yeah, so I think we probably just ditch Plains here. I think keeping the third blue in case we hit a Cryptic is important. I mean, they could still just Mind Twist us here as well, but we'll sort of see what happens there. I don't think there's a way for us to like straight lethal them next turn. But yeah, opponent is cooking. That Wheel of Fortune is just, yeah, nuts. All right, Thoughtseize, so they're just going to take our best card rather than some random cards. And then we'll sort of see what else they've got here. Okay, they take Lelia to not die, which makes sense because they took 2 damage off the Thoughtseize. Good choice from the opponent there. All right, so we're definitely playing an island. So I guess, how much mana do they have for non-artifact spells? They have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 10 if you include artifact spells. So I think the cards we really have to be scared of here are Ugin, primarily, because they could immediately play Ugin, kill our Gideon. That's all our pressure gone. They gain 3 life as well. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit them with this Gideon. Threatening lethal. Then I'm just going to play Teferi, leaving up my Caracas. I'm going to tuck their Soul Ring. Because then it does get much harder for them to play Ugin next turn, if that's something that's in their hand. We could Caracas the Gideon back to our hand, but let's not do that, because we want to win the game. Alright, and we got him. Alright, that game was wild. I thought we were sort of heavy favourites to win after we had Force of Will the Soul Ring, and then we just fell pretty far behind. Well, I guess we were kind of ahead the whole game after that point, but we were always in a very vulnerable position. And thankfully we had just enough staying power to get lethal in the end, and that Gideon dealt like 15 damage, so yeah, that was great. Alright, let's see how we go in the queue, see if we can find another opponent for us quickly, and yeah, I think we're 4-1 at the moment. Let's finish strong from there. Alright, a little bit of a sketchy opener here. 2 red spells, no red mana, 4 lands. I think it's still a keep. We're on the play, we've got the Meticulous Archives to surveil. I think we've got a lot of like really good draws. Consult the star charts. We could keep that and play that on turn 3. I don't hate binning it either though. Yeah, let's maybe just bin this for now. So the play if we keep it is turn 2 we play Seachrome Coast, Cathar Commando. Turn 3 we play Tapland and Consult the Star Charts. Alright, let's pass to our opponent. I mean, Cryptic Command, we might not be able to cast our red spells, but we can definitely cast a Cryptic Command, so there were worse draws. Would have obviously been nicer to draw something a little bit cheaper, but I'll take it. I'll take that Cryptic Command. Alright, Demonic Tutor, that's a little bit scary. We just have to let it happen. We'll see. They might, they might have some fast artifact mana or something. Like they might just play a Mox here. All right, nope. All right, so opponent could be setting up for a combo. It's hard for us to interact with a lot of the combos they could have right now. So just thinking. So the scariest combo they could have is probably like a flash combo. In terms of us just not being able to beat it. They could have like... They haven't shown us like red mana, so it's probably not Underworld Breach combo, but it still could be. Drawing Mountain is good. Drawing Mountain actually kind of makes me want to play Nia to see if we can maybe hit like a Spell Pierce or something, just to have like a little bit of interaction up. Or at the very least, I mean, I think I like that line because it gives us more pressure as well. At least this way we have 5 power as opposed to 3. Alright. Elegant Parlor, that's fine. Probably won't be playing that for a little while. I think next turn, if we do get to... I mean, if there is a next turn, I think we're just passing with... okay, Baleful Strix, that's fine. We'll probably just play this Cryptic mana. I mean, do we just want to kill that Baleful Strix with Cathar Commando so Nia can attack? Probably not. I will just offer them the block though. Like, I guess... Yeah, this is an interesting spot. Yeah, I think I just attack for 3. Actually, I guess I just don't care about this Elegant Parlor. If they want to trade, they can trade. That's fine. Now, we'll play Island and pass. Right. Slow game all around. I think we just pass again. We're kind of winning, so they have to do something, right? Like, all right, counter and draw. I'm sure they might have a free counter here, but even if they do, like, we just can't let this Teferi resolve. I think that's just too problematic for us. Clearly, they haven't hit whatever they demonic tutored for, whether that was a combo piece or, you know. All right, Force of Will, pitching, Mystic Confluence. Wow, okay. Okay, they +1. Might have a Mox. So now I have 3 mana available. That's a little scary. Yeah, I think we just try to take this Teferi down. I mean, it likely won't work, but we don't really have an alternative. Mana drain. All right. I think that's okay. And now we just put Lutri into our hand. I think the way this is all played out, Mana Drain could have been the card that they demonic tutored for. I don't think anything else makes sense. I mean, potentially the Force of Will. Ooh, alright, so they're going ahead. They're getting another demonic tutor. Alright, so this game's starting to slip away from us a little bit as well. But we got plenty of outs. If they tap super low, like they've already played a Force of Will. So we might be able to set up a Hull Breacher plus Wheel would be quite strong. We still have Time Walk, so if we ever just get to double Time Walk, that would be huge. On board, as it stands, we can... Oh, yeah, Mini Teferi hurts us a little bit here. I was going to say we could suplex the Snapcaster, and then if they have a way to interact, we can Lutri to copy the spell, even off a single red. I think as this stands, we're pretty much forced to just play Colonnade and attack their 5 mana Teferi and hope that works. And if it doesn't, we likely lose the game. Okay. I'll take that. So we have 3 other cards in our graveyard as well, so really keen to put some cards in there for this Flage. Alright, Aurelia was great. Pretty happy with that. Let's play Lelia. Hopefully she doesn't get countered. If she does, she does. Alright. Is she dead? Okay, you got it. So we'll just play this Cathar Commando main phase. I mean, it seems like they're kind of whiffing here. So we have lines. It's a little bit awkward that we can't... Alright, yeah, that's pretty bad here. Alright, I think... Do we just get the Lelia back now? Yeah, I don't hate just getting Lelia back here. Alright, so options we have. We can maybe just suplex away this Snapcaster and try to kill the Teferi. I think I like that, actually, yeah. Alright. Lelia attacks Teferi. If they let us attack, things are going great. Damn. Alright. Alright, let's just go ahead and preordain, I think. Sorcery, instant creature. Well, Spell Pierce is a definite no, and then it's sort of on this heat. I think I just bottom both. Alright, I'm just going to play Lutri out as a unit that pressures Teferi. And then we'll see where we go from there. Alright, so the plus Teferi. Oh, that's a bad one for us. That's real bad. Alright, sorry about that. Alright, so what's happened here? Our opponent has now played a Consult off our deck. We no longer have a Wheel of Fortune available to us either. I mean, that's not a bad draw. I would have liked the Mountain a little bit earlier. But I do think our play this turn is probably the Flage. We could also just Celestial Colonnade, try to kill this Teferi. Yeah, I feel like that's probably the play. If they end up in a position where they can use the Teferi to bounce the Crabomination and do that again, we're just going to lose the game. And given they just hit 2 cards, it's like that could potentially happen here, but I think they probably have a lot of counter magic in their deck as well, so at least that, like, playing the Flage, we play into counter magic and we play into removal, whereas firing up the Colonnade, we only play into removal. So I think that's why I made that choice there. Obviously, if they'd used Winds of Abandon on the Flage, it would have been quite bad for us as well. Okay. I mean, I was more scared of our opponent just returning Crabomination to their hand, I think. So pretty okay with how that's all worked out. 5, 7. So yeah, I think this turn we just have to Flage. And Hullbreacher. Flage and Hullbreacher. That's the only real line that makes sense to me. We lose our Teferi, but that's okay. One, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Shoot their Teferi. Play a Hullbreacher. Pass the turn. Alright, goodbye Lutri. He served us well. Lutri served us really well. Getting to hold on to this Teferi is very nice. Alright, let's see if we can make it to attacks. Teferi, shoot Oracle of the Alpha. I don't really want to use Teferi to tuck Crabomination because I could just play it again. Wow, okay. So what? So I could Gideon, make a token. I could Teferi, tuck Liliana. I actually don't hate that play. I think I'm hitting the Liliana here just because I feel like this crab could be disastrous if they get back to playing it. I don't care if they crab attack this Teferi, they're like dead on board. Alright, so let's do this. Oh my god, are we going to win this one? I was suddenly in a pretty good position again. So yeah, we just play Fury. We deal 4 to Crabomination. Then Flage attacks its trigger. Targets the Crabomination. They're getting hit for lethal. Okay, alright. This has been a crazy, crazy draft. Some of these games have been absolutely ridiculous. Alright, hopefully we can keep it going and get the trophy. Alright, interesting hand. We have the Nia, which if this wasn't in the hand, we would just probably need to mulligan it. But I think given we've got that, given we're on the play, we'll have a little bit of time. Let's keep this for now. The Suplex is a solid piece of interaction. Obviously, the Skyclave is completely dead right now, but could end up being a key piece of this hand. All right, opponent off to a slow start. That's what we want to see. I think we just play this now. I mean, obviously, there's a risk they could just remove it and we don't get the card out of it. But for all we know, we're not going to hit like a card that we want anyway, necessarily. So happy enough to take that risk. All right, and a Johnny. All right, we immediately hit the white, which just kind of makes me want to just not even mess around. I just want to Flage that Johnny down, if I'm honest. Is that the best play? So let's say I Flage a Johnny down. Next turn, I can play Fear of Missing Out. If I get another red source, I can play the Suplex. I think I like making the more mana efficient play. I don't think it makes sense to play the Fear of Missing Out here. Like, locking in the value is really nice. But this Johnny just is really scary. Yeah, no attacks. So the Fear of Missing Out, what do we actually discard? That's a big question here. We have a lot of pressure on this hand at the moment. In terms of this island, we need 2 more blue sources to be able to Cryptic. We need a red and a white source to be able to Flage. This Skyclave apparition is going to be quite good. I'm so glad they played that there. That's so much better for us to be able to suplex it before they get any value off it. Oh, and Mountain, that's just incredible as well. Alright, so let's think about this. So we only have the 1 card in our graveyard at the moment. That'll go up to 3 cards total at the end of this turn because we're planning on playing Suplex, we're planning on playing Fear of Missing Out. So I think we have to play Second Mountain to cast both of those spells. And then the question is, well, Suplex, this just has to happen. I think it's more important than Fear of Missing Out coming into play, so let's play around days. Let's start with the Suplex. The extra info on the card we draw just doesn't matter. There's just like not really a world where we don't play the Suplex this turn. So now the question really becomes, do we pitch Island or do we pitch Cryptic Command, because then we're so far away from that anyway. There are some Delirium considerations here as well. I think I don't want to pitch the Skyclave Apparition. I don't think. So awkward, eh? Let's pitch the Island. Because if we just draw some more blue sources, we can eventually play the Cryptic, but having like a 5th land doesn't really do anything for us in this hand either, so let's do that. Alright, Caracas, quite a good draw for us. Happy with that. It gives us our second white, so now Flage is on. We can play the Skyclave Apparition. We also have Caracas for our Nia if we need it. Alright, this is going to be a big turn. This is a big roll on Comet. Alright, you get 2 squirrels. Okay. Alright, I mean, that worked out pretty well for us. Pretty happy with Comet making squirrels there instead of killing something on our board. I think the play this turn is just going to be a Preordain and then a Skyclave Apparition to eat the Comet and go from there. I don't really think either of these make a heap of sense with what we're doing at the moment. Okay, that's another blue source. It's also another card that goes to the graveyard. So I think I'm going to play this right now. I'm going to fetch a Tundra. And that just means if we draw a blue land next turn, we'll have the option to Cryptic. We're tapped out of Caracas this turn anyway. So yeah, let's go ahead. Let's do that. Get our cheeky Tundra. Skyclave down the Comet. We'll have a few different options next turn. If any of our cards die, we'll have the option to buy back the Flage as well, now that we've got double red, double white. And then we can even have Caracas up to protect the Flage, potentially. Okay, Dak doesn't do a lot. Interesting option here for this Dak as well. We could just flip our Nia and just kill the Dak Faden, which it's not really a bad play. I don't hate that plan, because then we could also have Caracas up to protect her as well. And then we've got a huge threat that they have to deal with. What they get rid of? A Bauble. Flame Slash is really interesting, actually. Okay, now they're brainstorming. I think for them, the key turn was, I think the turn they played the Skull Clamp, I think that was like a really key decision for us. And I think if they hadn't done that, we would be in a much worse position. All right, so question is, do we want to keep Caracas or Spell Pierce up here if we're flipping the Nia? I think we'd rather keep up Caracas. They still just have a lot of mana available. Oh man, but yeah, if they play a Fractured Identity or something, we'd feel so awkward. Let's leave up the Spell Pierce. We're going to get to kill the Dak on this board anyway, so we're at least locking in the value of our 5 mana here. And there are legit cards that we just can Spell Pierce that we otherwise are going to have a really tough time beating. So let's do this. You kill you. Alright, and then if we get to Spell Pierce something, I mean, we might also end up in a position where we Spell Pierce to try and tap them out of something. That 4th card gives us Delirium, which then gives us some options. Sorry, the 4th card type gives us Delirium, which gives us some options with the Fear of Missing Out. We also then have 5 other cards in the graveyard for this Flage, so I think this probably gives us the most flexibility. I mean, I think we have to let the Mana Crypt resolve. If they have Mana Crypt into Fractured Identity, that would be frustrating, but alright. I mean, we might still be able to hit something here with this Spell Pierce. This play is a little bit suspect. Like, why would you play this Mana Crypt out on this board anyway? So yeah, they potentially do have something else, but we'll just have to wait and see. All right, well, the way that's played out, not thrilled with how that worked for us, but it is what it is. Let's put Lutri into our hand. We don't have any attacks here. Hopefully they start taking some damage from the Crypt. We have Spell Pierce and Normalizer. Honestly, it's really hard to get value off either of them. All right, love to see that. Love to be able to Spell Pierce that. Just based off the fact they have 7 mana with this Crypt. But hopefully, if they start losing some flips, we can hopefully start doming them pretty quick. All right. 5. Force of Will is a good pickup. Pretty happy to just play this Flage out. Goodbye, Delirium. Easy come, easy go. Alright. I think we just killed the 2-1 here. There's like kind of an argument to kill the Stoneforge because they probably have more equipment in their deck. So like they could have like a Cauldron Complete or something like that the Stoneforge can put into play that we otherwise can't interact with. But I just think this is going to give us clearer attacks. Like, I think we can probably get in with our fear of missing out now. Like, I'd probably just trade it for a Stoneforge Mystic or 2 tokens here. Like, that seems fine to me. Alright. Let's go to damage. Alright, so what? Let's get rid of... I think, like I said, let's just get rid of this Stoneforge Mystic. You know, realistically, like a Cauldron Complete or something like that, if that is one of the cards they want to cast, like, that's one of the few things our No More Lies could potentially hit as well. Or just having a handful of, you know, ways to interact on the stack, letting them bypass the stack is a little bit scary. Alright, we draw a blue land. Our Cryptic command is now on. Lutri can actually copy Cryptic because we can cast it off Double Mountain. Alright, looks like our opponent has something here. Fresh start. That's not going to be happening, I can tell you that much. So let's counter this, draw a card. And then do we want a Lutri to copy this is the question. Counter target spell, draw a card. I think the answer is yes. And I think we're drawing another card. Ooh. Oh, okay, we have to pick the same modes. All right, gotcha. Okay, so new targets, but same modes. All right. So let's do that. We only draw the 1 card, so that was actually a waste. I just did not understand how that interaction worked. Kill a squirrel. We'll hit them for 8. We have a Force of Will up of this No More Lies. So we're in a pretty good position, but it's the Vintage Cube. Anything can happen at any time, as you've seen in some of these other games so far. Like, we've just won from ridiculous positions. There have been just crazy back and forths. Alright, opponent playing a land probably isn't a good start for them to claw back, so let's play this Elegant Parlor. Let's just Surveil first. Subtlety's fine. We'll probably keep that on top. So that's 11 damage. Given they only have 1 card in hand, I think I'm just going to go for the same lethal play we did earlier of Caracas the Flage. And then, yeah, we have Force of Will backup, so it's not really like they can do anything to prevent it with 1 card. Like, if they have a removal spell, we counter the removal spell. If they have a counter spell and we have the Flage in hand, we counter the counter. Alright, so it was 6-1 now. We've got 2 shots at that trophy. Let's see how we go. Alright, playing for a trophy. So opponent is on the play. I think this is probably a keep. It's a little bit awkward. Like, we'd probably go turn 1 island into the Meticulous Archive on 2. So we're not doing anything for a while. We don't have red mana, but I mean, we've got to keep it. If they do anything like crazy busted, we can hopefully interact with Subtlety. Like if they go Black Lotus into a 4-drop or something, maybe we can do something there. Alright, yeah, Mountain solid. Yeah, let's just go ahead and play Island and pass. The matchmaking's pretty wild as well. Like, I was in queue for a while, but yeah, rank 243 versus a gold player, like... no arena, you gotta do what you gotta do, but, like, come on, bud. Come on. Alright. Spell Pierce the Talisman. We're probably going to be tapping out of the Spell Pierce pretty soon anyway. Like, realistically, we could have held it up for one more turn, but I think that's just worth it. I think I would rather have access to our 3-drops next turn. Island's not bad. Would have preferred a Plains, probably, to unlock this Gideon, but yeah, we'll keep an Island, I think, just because then we have a turn 4 Subtlety lined up. Hopefully they play something we can Flage down this turn. Alright, Toxic Deluge. Yeah, good choice to be in that. Alright, play the Mountain. 3, 6. I might just put Lutri into our hand here. 2 mana. They could easily have a counter spell. We're not discarding, and this means we now have our Subtlety turned on if they do play something like that we absolutely have to interact with. Alright, consult the star charts. Not too worried about that. At the moment, this is literally just anticipate. They're paying 2 mana, looking at 3 cards, putting 1 in their hand. Obviously, in Cube, the cards you're putting into your hand are often a lot better than they are in other formats, but yeah, not too worried yet. Alright. I think they were just... Okay. Maybe, yeah, they're maybe being a little bit cheeky there, trying to see what stops there are through Arena. I'm going to play an Island here, I think. So I could play a Mountain to get my double red for Flage, but I think I'd rather just set up my blue sources. I'm going to pass here. See if we can hardcast this Subtlety. They've got a heap of mana ups, so not super keen to just jam cards into that if I can avoid it. Yep. Alright, we will play the Mountain now. Yeah, I think like none of our plays seem that good, right? Like Gideon's like our best spell. Like they could Mystic Confluence draw 3 here, and that would obviously be pretty backbreaking. Alright, a Demi. So what if I just Subtlety a Demi? What happens then? I think I just let this happen. Demi's a good card, but we've got the Flage to answer it potentially. If they play something pre-combat, we could try and Subtlety that and then just trade with the Ademi. I think if they don't do anything, I'm just going to play the Subtlety end of turn. I think the time has come. And honestly, at this point, they don't really have to do anything else. I'm actually very surprised to see Najani. It's a good card, but they just looked so much more controlling to me. Like, them playing a bunch of cards that they can wrath away is definitely a little bit interesting. Okay, they have a mana leak for that. So the Ademi kind of prevents the Flage from killing Ajani. I think I'm just going to play the Naya to start. See what we get. Okay, that's pretty good. I mean, I don't really want to pitch cast that because it doesn't actually do anything at the moment. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just try and Flage the Ademi down. And then if they do anything to interact with this, I guess I try and Fury their board. But at the moment, just super choked on white mana. Because this Gideon would have been very strong. So I think I'm just going to try and kill the Ademi now. I could kill the Ajani, but then that gives them the option on the Ademi. And then if they can't deal with the Fury, then they could just sack the Ademi next turn to prevent the Fury. So I think this works out slightly better for me. And turn. 2 cards in the graveyard. I obviously won't trade. Because that's what's allowing me to cast the Fury. They haven't been pressured at all into using removal. So they've got the Toxic Deluge, which honestly, Deluge would be great here because I could Deluge for 1, kill the Nia, which would get rid of my Fury, and then they would have access to like a flipped Ajani as well. Alright, I mean, I'm just going to play Caracas, and I am going to Fury. Caracas, arguably one of the best cards we could have hit there as well. It's our second white source, which we desperately need, and it also just does double duty. Because it's sort of like, now what are you going to do? Are you going to counter the Fury? Like, they probably have to. Yeah. Alright. You got it. I guess no attacks. Alright, so that's an extra card in the graveyard for our Flage as well. Alright, Thoughtseize, you got it. Just gets us closer to Flage. I go block, and then I'm going to Caracas the Nia. Hull Breacher is like a very good one to draw after that sequence where they like don't know what's coming. Alright, am I gonna try and Flage them more? I guess let's tap an island as well, because we can play the island from hand if we hit like Cryptic Command or something like that. Yep, so yeah, if they counter the Nia, I think they're counting cards in my graveyard right now. I can then cast the Flage, so puts them in a really awkward position. Oh my god. Look, I don't think I have it in me to go for that, so I'm gonna not do that right now. I'm just gonna keep developing. And yeah, I don't think we have to cast a Wheel of Fortune here. I think that's just going Hull Breacher Wheel is like, you remember that game where our opponent, we were completely dead, we had 1 card left in hand, they just cast a Time Spiral and we Hull Breached it and lethaled them? Like, we would be on the receiving end of that, I think, if we just went for the Hull Breacher Wheel here. Like, we are miles ahead. Let's not test the fates on that one. Or at least let's wait until we got a little bit of backup, you know? Like, maybe we can find a Force of Will or something. Okay, Plains. Five, 6, 7, 8. So we have 9 mana, so... I mean, we could go Hull Breacher, cast Wheel. If they have a removal spell for the Hull Breacher, we just cast Lutri to copy the Wheel in response, so we'd at least get 7 treasures, but then Hull Breach would die, they'd get 7 more cards. And then we'd each only have like 8 cards left in hand, so yeah, I don't really want to do that. I definitely want to play this land, and then do I want to transform her, start getting in? Not really, I kind of just want to play a Lutri, I think. Sorry, not a Lutri, a Hull Breacher. So let's, you know what, let's transform now. We still have Caracas up. We still have Hull Breacher up. Then let's pass. Let's see what happens. If they tap super low, we might be able to go for this wheel play. Otherwise, we're really in the driver's seat right now. Obviously, that could flip at any moment in cube. Who knows what could be in their deck. Alright, Hull Breacher down. It feels like they're getting priority here, so it seems like they do have something. So, you know, not super keen to go for any wheel line here, but who knows? They might, like, if we're tapped out and they have removal and they know we've got the Lutri as well, it makes a lot of sense for them to just try and kill this right now as well. So, fear of missing out. That's a pretty good draw. I'm just going to attack with the Nia here. So we could just discard our Lutri. And then we could just buy back our Flage, because that'll be the right number of cards and still have Caracas up. So let's go ahead, let's do that. Alright, counterspell, no problem. I'll just play the land, and then they can have a turn. Preacher, if they attack with it, is going to give them a token. So not particularly scary there. Yep, that attack makes sense. No blocks. Undertrap Trainer. And they're not paying the Offspring. Okay. So definitely interesting. I kind of feel like they might have something for this Hull Breacher. Because them countering the Flage, like maybe they felt like they had to, but we've got the wheel face up and the Hull Breacher in play, so it's kind of like, do they have the luxury of taking that line? So whether Thundertrap Trainer is trying to find an answer to that at the moment is yet to be seen. Alright, Staff of the Storyteller. Notably, they can't draw any cards off that at the moment because of the Hull Breacher. If they do that, we'll just get a treasure. I mean, they're leaving up blue-blue. It does kind of feel like they could very easily have a counterspell here in the way they're tapping. Oop, have they forgotten about the Hull Breacher? Is that what they're... Oh, no. Okay, they are now reading the Hull Breacher. So Hull Breacher is like any extra card that's drawn gets converted into a treasure, whereas... Alright, well, Cryptic Command was excellent, but I was just going to say, like, a Narset style card, or I think Leovold as well, only let you draw one card per turn, so they could have activated the staff on our turn, but that's not how Hull Breacher works. Alright, I mean, I'm just going to cast the Wheel of Fortune now, noting that we have Cryptic Command backup. So let's just go 1, 2, 3, cast Wheel. If they have an answer, we will Cryptic Command that answer. Otherwise, we just get 7 cards. Okay. Bunch of cards, bunch of treasures. We have 12 cards left in our deck. If we attack on the ground, they can potentially transform their Ajani. So yeah, I think we just play Teferi. Let's just make some more tokens and whatnot. So we do have a creature. I'm just trying to see, can we get Delirium here? Because that could potentially be a way to win. So we have an instant, have a creature, so we don't have a way to get Delirium at the moment. Because we could have tucked this, have Delirium on this, and then Naya would have been lethal. Over 2 attack steps. So I think here, let's just plus Teferi. Okay. Attack for 5. Makes a lot of sense for them to block, yep. I guess we play the Lalia because we can untap our lands off the Teferi. So their best draw here is probably like a Wrath of God style effect. Because that would be, you know, cheap enough that we couldn't cast Normalize and have it really do anything. Loran of the Third Path. Okay. So they were just checking, I think, to see if any of our units were artifacts. And one is, so this Fear of Missing Out is an enchantment. All right. Yep, that's fine. It's not a legend. We can't save it. Four cards in the graveyard. Teferi having 2 damage marked on it is actually pretty good for us. Because now we have a way to put it into the graveyard to bring back the Flage as well. So I'm going to play Fairy Mastermind. Play Cathar Commando. Then I'm going to tuck their Lifelinker. Oh, Unholy Heat's a good one as well, yeah. Tuck your Lifelinker. Karakas your Loran. Unholy Heat your Ajani. Buy back our Flage and get the trophy. Alright, well, yeah, thanks for joining me for this draft. It was a long one, so appreciate it if you made it all the way to the end. And yeah, we've managed to climb up into top 200 Mythic. Alright, hope you enjoy the cube and see you in the next one.